did a 19-year-old driver change the course of Formula One. A driver's debut can set the tone for their entire career, and some made unforgettable entrances into the sport. Here are the top 10 greatest debut races in Formula One history. Number 10. Lewis Hamilton, 2007 Australian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton debuted at the 2007 Australian Grand Prix. The British rookie, paired with defending champion Fernando Alonso at McLaren, arrived in Melbourne with high expectations but exceeded all of them. Qualifying fourth on the grid, Hamilton made a strong start, holding his position into the first corner. As the race progressed, he showcased remarkable composure and racecraft, qualities that would become his hallmarks in the years to come. Despite immense pressure from Nick Heidfeld's BMW in the closing laps, Hamilton held on to finish third, becoming the first driver since Giuseppe Farina in the inaugural F1 Championship race to finish on the podium in his debut. This performance set the tone for a remarkable rookie season in which Hamilton would change the World Championship, missing out by just a single point. Number 9. Jacques Villeneuve, 1996 Australian Grand Prix. Jacques Villeneuve's Formula One debut at the 1996 Australian Grand Prix was nothing short of spectacular. The Canadian, son of F1 legend Gilles Villeneuve, arrived in the sport as the reigning IndyCar champion and immediately made his presence felt. Villeneuve stunned the paddock by securing pole position in his very first qualifying session, outpacing his experienced teammate and Formula World champion Damon Hill. As the lights went out, Villeneuve maintained his lead and began to pull away from the field. However, an oil leak in the closing stages of the race forced Villeneuve to slow down, allowing Hill to pass him. Despite this setback, Villeneuve managed to nurse his car home in second place, completing a dream 1-2 finish at the Williams team. This performance set the stage for a season-long battle with Hill for the championship, which Villeneuve would narrowly lose in the final race. Number 8. Max Verstappen, 2015 Australian Grand Prix. While Max Verstappen's first race win came later with Red Bull, his actual F1 debut with Toro Rosso at the 2015 Australian Grand Prix was remarkable in its own right, particularly given his unprecedented youth. At just 17 years and 166 days old, Verstappen became the youngest driver ever to start a Formula One race. The pressure on the young Dutchman was immense, with many questions whether he was too young for the pinnacle of motorsport. Verstappen qualified 12th, a respectable position for a rookie in a midfield car. As the race began, he held his own against more experienced competitors, showcasing the raw speed and racecraft that would become his trademark. Unfortunately, Verstappen's debut ended prematurely due to an engine failure. However, in the 34 laps he competed, he had already made a strong impression. His aggressive yet controlled driving style, particularly in wheel-to-wheel combat, drew praise from pundits and fellow drivers alike. Number 7. Kevin Magnussen, 2014 Australian Grand Prix. Kevin Magnussen's Formula One debut at the 2014 Australian Grand Prix was a performance that immediately marked him out as a potential star of the future. The young Dane driving for McLaren produced a drive that was both mature and impressively quick. Magnussen qualified an excellent fourth, outpacing his vastly more experienced teammate Jenson Button. Throughout the race, Magnussen drove with a poise and consistency that belied his rookie status. He kept pace with the leaders and stayed out of trouble, a challenging task on the tricky Albert Park circuit. Magnussen crossed the line in third place, becoming only the second driver in F1 history to score a podium finish on debut in the 21st century. His joy was further amplified when Daniel Ricciardo's disqualification promoted him to second place. Number 6. Mark Webber, 2002 Australian Grand Prix. Mark Webber's Formula One debut at his home race, the 2002 Australian Grand Prix, was the stuff of fairy tales. Driving for the underfunded Minardi team, expectations were low, but Webber was about to deliver one of the most memorable performances. Qualifying 18th out of 22 cars, Webber's primary goal was simply to finish the race. However, as the lights went out, chaos ensued. A massive first corner pile-up eliminated several cars, and Webber found himself running in a point-scoring position. As the race progressed, attrition continued to play a role. Webber drove a measured and consistent race, keeping his cool despite the pressure of racing in front of his home crowd. He battled not just competitors, but also his physically demanding car, which lacked power steering. In the closing laps, Webber found himself in 5th place, desperately trying to hold off a faster Mika Salo. In a nail-biting finish, Webber crossed the line just ahead of Salo, securing 5th place and scoring points on his debut. A remarkable achievement for both him and the Minardi team. Number 5. Sebastian Vettel, 2007 United States Grand Prix. While not technically Vettel's first F1 race, he had previously served as a test driver. The 2007 United States Grand Prix marked his first race as a full-time driver, replacing the injured Robert Kubica at BMW Sauber. Vettel, just 19 years old at the time, immediately showcased the talent that would lead him to the 4 World Championships. He qualified an impressive 7th, outpacing his experienced teammate Nick Heidfeld. Throughout the race, Vettel battled with seasoned competitors, never looking out of pace among the sport's elite. Eventually crossed the line in 8th place, scoring a point in his debut at the time, making him the youngest driver ever to score a point in Formula 1. What made Vettel's performance even more impressive was the context. He had minimal time to prepare, stepping into a car at short notice, yet he delivered a performance that's not only scoring points for the team, but also announced his arrival as a future star of the sport. Number 4. Giancarlo Baghetti, 1961 French Grand Prix. Giancarlo Baghetti's debut at the 1961 French Grand Prix stands out as one of the most extraordinary in Formula 1 history. To this day, he remains the only driver to win his very first World Championship Formula 1 race. Baghetti, driving for the FISA team in a Ferrari, started the race from 12th on the grid. In the closing stages of the race, Baghetti found himself in a 3-way battle for the lead with Dan Gurney and Jim Clark. Both Gurney and Clark encountered problems, leaving Baghetti to duel with Gurney's Porsche in a straight fight to the finish. In a thrilling conclusion, Baghetti managed to slipstream past Gurney on the final straight, closing the line in just 0.1 seconds ahead in an incredible victory. The win was made even more remarkable by the fact it was not only Baghetti's first F1 race, but also his first race outside of Italy. Number 3. Jenson Button, 2000 Australian Grand Prix. Jenson Button's Formula 1 debut at the 2000 Australian Grand Prix was a brilliant performance. At just 20 years old, Button became the youngest British driver to start a Formula 1 race. Driving for Williams, Button qualified in an impressive 21st position, showcasing his raw speed despite his lack of experience. As the race began, Button drove with a maturity beyond his years, gradually working his way through the field. Throughout the race, Button engaged in battles with more experienced drivers, never looking out of place. His smooth driving style and ability to manage helped Button find himself running in 6th place in the closing stages of the race. However, a late engine failure robbed him of what would have been a points finish on his debut. His composure, speed and racecraft had clearly demonstrated that he belonged in Formula 1. This debut set the stage for a career that would eventually see him become world champion in 2009. Number 2. Juan Manuel Fangio, 1950 British Grand Prix. While not technically a debut in the modern sense, Juan Manuel Fangio's first Formula 1 World Championship race at the 1950 Grand Prix deserves mention for his historic significance and the maestro's impressive performance. The inaugural World Championship race saw Fangio, already an established star in South American racing, qualify second behind his Alfa Romeo teammate Giuseppe Farina. From the start, Fangio was in the thick of the action, battling for the lead with Farina and Lucio Fagioli. Despite this setback, Fangio fought back through the field, eventually finishing in 3rd place behind his Alfa Romeo teammates. This performance in what was effectively his European racing debut immediately established Fangio. Fangio's debut set the stage for what would have been one of the most legendary careers in motorsport history. He would go on to win 5 World Championships, a record that stood 46 years, until Michael Schumacher surpassed it in 2003. Number 1. Charles Leclerc, 2018 Australian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc's Formula 1 debut at the 2018 Australian Grand Prix was a glimpse into the future of sport. The Monegasque driver, fresh from dominating Formula 2, arrived at Sauber with high expectations. Qualifying 18th, Leclerc showcased his raw talent and determination throughout the race. Despite driving for a black market team, Leclerc finished a respectable 13th, outperforming his more experienced teammate, Marcus Ericsson. This debut laid the foundations for a rookie season that would see him consistently outperform his machinery, earning him a coveted seat at Ferrari for 2019. While it would take Leclerc over 80 races to claim his first victory, his debut hinted at the greatness to come. As he finally crossed the finish line first at the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix, the paddock remembered the promise shown in that first race in Australia. Leclerc's journey from impressive rookie to race winner and title contender is a beautiful cinema of its own. So, what do you guys think? Which one was your favourite? Do drop your views in the comment section below and we'll meet again in the next episode.